Hi everyone and welcome back to the garden. It's May, so in theory it's nearly summer, but you wouldn't have thought it from the weather we've had this week. We've had rain, we've had hail, we've had sub-zero temperatures, a lot of frost, but hopefully last night was the last frost for our area, which is a good step towards a summer garden and all the tropical plants coming outside. But today I want to look at something you can do this week, something to prepare that ground and add lots of nutrients to help create that lush, leafy tropical jungle later in the year, and that's chicken manure pellets. Now is the right time to get some down. If you've not bought or used chicken manure pellets before, then they're actually a great source of food for your garden and a lot of different plants. They're great for shrubs, annuals, vegetables, flowers. Pretty much any kind of plant can benefit from the food that they offer. And the main reason is the high in nitrogen, which leads to a lot of healthy leaf growth. Plants with darker green leaves, stronger growth and faster growth throughout the season as well. Just to give you a quick overview then of how I actually feed the garden here, essentially it's a three-step process. So the first step, which I generally do from autumn through to spring, is improving the soil itself. So that's soil conditioners, manures, adding mulches to the soil. This year I've had a lot of biochar, anything like that really that generally improves the soil and tries to work to improve a better, more fertile soil over time. I get done before the season really starts. The second part is feeds like chicken manure pellets, which are essentially slow release. You can just sprinkle them on through the season and those nutrients just drip through. And the third bit is when I add other feeds, such as liquid seaweed fertiliser or more specific plant foods, occasionally Miracle Grow, just to top up growth for specific groups of plants through the summer. So chicken manure pellets are a big part of it. They're really easy and they're really cheap too. So first off, let's look at some of the advantages and how I actually use chicken manure pellets in the garden. I think the first advantage is just that chicken manure pellets actually work. They contain the nitrogen and all the other nutrients, so you can use them generally around the garden to feed, like I said, all kinds of shrubs, trees and long-term established plants. But I think they're especially helpful if you're wanting to create extra growth and maybe growth that your soil couldn't support. So if you're growing vegetables, if you don't have an especially rich soil, any kind of feed that you give those vegetables will get better crops, more growth and a higher quantity of produce through the season. Likewise, with the kind of tropical plants that I grow, with the bananas, the gunneras, the tetrapanax, these plants have all got huge leaves, and for those, nitrogen is the main source of food. And if you're wanting to create a ridiculous amount of growth over one season, then chicken manure pellets are a great way to get there. So looking back at pictures of our old garden, you'll see just how many plants I crammed into one small border. And I think personally, the biggest single reason why I had so much success with this is just because chicken manure pellets, all the other soil conditioners, the manures that I added in, yes it took some money, yes it took some time, but it was absolutely worth it when you see the results in the middle of summer. Just to give you one specific example, if you look back at this picture, this is an Inseti ventricosum morellii, a red banana plant, and you'll see just how much growth it put on in a single season. And I'm 100% convinced, if you just grew this in a pot and didn't give it a lot of feed through the summer, you get nowhere near this growth. Whereas if you put that in good rich soil and top that up with chicken manure pellets through the summer, it's just an example of how much growth you can get from plants in one single season. Another big advantage to chicken manure pellets is how easy they are to use. All you do is sprinkle them around the plant or the area where you're going to put your plants in. It really is that easy. You buy them in boxes, in tubs, in sacks, and just get a trowel or put some gloves on and use your hand and just scatter them about. It really is that easy. I generally start around April time and stop feeding maybe at the back end of summer. And what I tend to do, this isn't very scientific at all, you might guess, but for shrubs, plants like that where they're not going to grow massively fast but they still might appreciate a bit of a top up, so you could potentially include tree ferns in this as well. I just give them one handful maybe every month, 6 weeks, probably even every 2 months, and that's enough just to keep them ticking over and improve that soil. When it comes to plants like bananas, tetrapanax, cannas, anything that puts a lot of leafy growth on very quickly over the summer months, I give them a bit more. So I probably go slightly over the recommended dosage, but I've not had any issues so far with these plants, so they are very greedy. So for those, if you chuck a couple of handfuls around them, I think again that's as scientific as I'm going to get. The more the better for bananas, cannas, tetrapanax, anything with big leaves, gunner as well, they respond really well to these kind of feeds. The next advantage, and you probably guessed this one if you've been following the channel for a while, it's price. Chicken manure pellets are a really affordable, budget-friendly way of feeding your garden through the summer months. So don't bother spending £10–20 on little tubs of fertiliser. If you've got a lot of different plants to feed, just get some chicken manure pellets. They cover such a wide range of plants and they're really affordable too, which is a big thing at this time of year especially, because I know that most of you will have spent all your money on the plants and not left enough to actually look after them. So in previous years, I've bought my chicken manure manure pellets in big sacks, maybe 20 or 25 kilo. I bought them offline on eBay, Amazon, various places, and they got delivered for around £20 a bag. So this year, prices seem to have gone up, and some places that I tend to use haven't stocked them anymore, so I actually moved on to buying them as tubs. To make it really easy, I put a few links in the description below to chicken manure pellets and other equivalents that you can get on Amazon. I've had great success with these in the past, and they're delivered straight to your door at affordable prices. But if you want to shop more locally, garden centres, B&Q, Wilco's, they all tend to stock their own brands, or one of the main sort of brands of chicken manure pellets. So just to look at a couple, firstly this one is 6 times, the Vitax one, which is supposed to be a concentrate. You pay around £10 for a tub, and that tub in particular, should have done my research here really, shouldn't I? That tub is 8 kilos, so you're paying just over £1 a kilo, which isn't too bad at all. And a tub like that for a tenner, that'll feed a good sized border or a small garden pretty much most of the season. Unless you absolutely chuck it on, but I wouldn't go too far with it. And if you want the best budget alternative, then it's this one, the chicken manure pellets, and these are from Wilco's. I think they were £6 each, and that's for an 8 kilo tub. So absolute bargain, less than £1 a kilo, and a great way to feed your garden this summer. If you've got concerns about the smell of chicken manure pellets, they're not that bad really, you do get used to it, then I've got a surprise alternative product for you. You can get this, which is 6 times. It's basically a higher strength concentrate mixed in with a soil conditioner. And I got this bag, a 15 kilo bag, for £9.99 from a garden centre. So it's very affordable as well. And I'll put a link to this in the description. You can get it from Amazon for £14.99 currently delivered. So again, you don't even need to leave your house, and it's a great price for how much you get. The surprise is that although it doesn't smell quite as bad as chicken manure pellets, it's definitely got its own pungent aroma. But because it's more of a powder than pellets, it does wash in quicker. That neatly leads on to my next practical tip for putting these pellets down, and that's put them down before it rains, or before you're going to give the garden a good watering, because all that rain helps to break the pellets down, they disappear into the ground, and that smell disappears a lot quicker. Don't do what I did at the old house one summer weekend, which is put a load down on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning, the day before you got a barbecue, and then wonder why there's lots of flies and an awful smell. Don't do that. Definitely put them down on a Monday or before it rains. In previous years, I would have planted out a lot of my tropical plants and vegetables in the first weekend in May, but this year, with it being such a cold start, I'm actually giving it a couple of weeks just for the soil to warm up, and also because the plants themselves are quite behind, so they'll be better in the polytunnel for a couple of weeks, just ready until the temperatures warm up a little bit more, and then as soon as they're planted out, they're ready to go. But that means I've been able to put the chicken manure pellets down now in preparation. I certainly wouldn't put them down a couple of days before I'm about to dig into that soil, because even if you're wearing gloves, you're going to get chicken manure pellets everywhere. It's messy, don't do that. And also, I suppose on a sort of precautionary note, if you know you've got kids playing in the soil, or dogs that maybe like the smell of these and will dig them up, then I would probably be careful when you put them down or access to that area. But if you've already got your tropical plants or your vegetables planted out, then a good sprinkling of chicken manure pellets around them will give them a great start and produce lots of leafy growth this summer. So whilst the short-lived smell might be a downside, there's one definite big advantage that I'll finish on for chicken manure pellets, and that's that they actually feed the soil. And this is something I can't stress enough. The best way of getting plants that grow well, whether it's just for one summer or plants that stay in the ground for years and years, is to improve the quality of the soil. And the best way of doing this is by adding manures in autumn, adding the chicken manure pellets in spring. Any kind of organic matter helps to feed the soil. And a good rich soil, it contains earthworms, you've got all kinds of microbiology and different bacteria. They all thrive off nutrients like these chicken manure pellets, and if you look after those, they help your plants in turn. Whereas if you put a lot of synthetic fertiliser down, it often contains a lot of chemicals you don't want, it contains a lot of salts, and those can actually have a detrimental effect on the same sort of life forms. So for me personally, one of the big advantages, I'm not someone who, shoves organic down everyone's throats. Personally, that's the way that I've gone with my garden. I don't use a lot of chemicals. But to me personally, if you can have a practical way of improving the health of your plants, of improving the long-term health of your soil, and getting a lot of growth for very little money, then you should absolutely do it. So give some chicken manure pellets a go this year, and I hope they have absolutely amazing effects on all of your plants. See you soon.